We are back with another episode of the Super Intelligent Podcast. I'm Emily Forlini, and I am here with the very much esteemed Mike Elgin. How are you?
It's mostly self-esteem, but I'll take it. I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
I'm in California, in the Valley of Silicon, and getting ready for a long trip to Italy on Tuesday.
Cool. Moving all over as usual.
Yeah, so things are interesting in the world of technology as always. The nexus between technology and politics I think it's become a bit of a theme in this podcast lately.
It's become a theme intentionally, and everyone's making it a theme. You know, it's at the White House. It's all over the news. It's happening. Politics and tech have fused.
A video circulated recently of trash bags falling out of the White House window. And a mystery was afoot, and so everyone was wondering what they were. Was Melania Trump mad at Donald and telling him to get out of the house and putting his clothes in garbage bags and throwing them out the window? Or
does she collect his poop like a dog? It was like they're on a dog walk. You know, you just throw it out the window.
Exactly. That seems plausible because they were giant garbage bags packed to the brim with material. And so, that checks out. But basically, when Trump himself was confronted, he said, well, I don't know about that. I haven't seen that. And the Fox News reporter who brought it up came over and showed him his phone. Trump saw the video and said, well, maybe it's AI. It's probably AI. Who knows about AI? Later in that conversation, he said something really funny. He said, basically, if something happens and it's really bad, maybe I'll just have to blame AI. And so
convenient.
This ability to blame AI is something I've been warning about since around 2000. Well, since the deepfake video thing in the 2018, 2019 era was scaring everybody. And I've always been concerned about it. And now it's become something of a banality. So I don't know. I think it's very interesting. I have a whole bunch of examples that have happened recently about, blaming AI for things that actually happened. I think the biggest risk is, did it happen? Didn't it happen? We can never know. For example, the trash bags. Is it AI or is it not AI? Nobody knows. Is it, basically earlier that day, reporters asked them about the bags, and the White House spokesperson that they talked to said, no, it was normal construction. And they were just, and that sounds unlikely.
Yeah. What are the possibilities? The cleaning staff has a bin on the ground, and they've decided that even though it's the third floor, the best thing is for them to just throw it out the window so they don't have to take it down the stairs. I could do that. I could see myself doing that. Sounds efficient. Like what are your theories?
But you don't live in the White House. So
No.
The most photographed building in the world, where all the news reporters and cameras are trained on it 24/7, for a contractor, they said it was a contractor, to unilaterally say, you know what, I know the cameras are rolling and everybody's always filming this building, but I'm going to throw trash bags out the window.
After, again, renovating my house, I would not be surprised if it was a rogue contractor who's like, I don't care if it's the White House. I don't care how much they're paying me. This is efficient. This is the right way to do it. I mean, they're sometimes in a different world and they're just like, this is how we do it on all our jobs. They don't know that it's the White House. So that's almost more plausible to me.
That's a great point. The contractor who's deciding how to evacuate the material out of the building is not an expert in protocol, in the public image of the
They
building.
Don't care at all.
Clients, they don't care.
They just are getting paid by the hour. The dumpster's on the ground. How do you get from the third floor to the dumpster without sending your guys up and down steps? You throw it out the window.
Yeah. Trump said that the windows are sealed and they weigh 600 pounds and that they're bulletproof and all this kind of stuff. I'm sure they're bulletproof. I'm sure they're heavy. We don't know if they're sealed. You couldn't open it. So I don't know. It's it's a mystery, and it really is kind of an irrelevant mystery. But the point is that the impulse to blame AI is something that has become obvious to everyone. It's
Mm-hmm.
AI is the new fake news. In Venezuela, after the United States blew up or shot up a boat and reportedly killed 11 people, and they said they were drug running terrorists. A government spokesperson for Venezuela said, no, the footage that was shown as evidence of this attack was AI generated.
Right. It's the ultimate way to cover something up because right now there's no way for the average person to detect what's AI generated or not. I mean, a teacher can't tell a student they've had all year if it's AI generated or not sometimes. So when it's an abstract thing, like trash bags being thrown out the White House window, who knows what that's about, or a boat being blown up in a body of water, you hardly even know where it is on the map, and someone says, "Oh, it's AI generated." What are you going to do? You just have to believe it if you like the administration. I mean, such an easy cover up.
That's the thing. So you take a politician. We're talking about Donald Trump. Let's keep talking about Donald Trump.
Yep.
Donald Trump doesn't care if as he would say, quote, left wing lunatics support him or not, believe him or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is that his base believes him and doesn't have their faith in him chipped away by inconvenient facts. And so this is how it's being used, essentially, the claim of AI. It's being
Mm-hmm.
used to keep the believers on board. If people are inclined to believe what you say, they'll believe the claim that this evidence against you is AI generated and fake.
Yep.
If they oppose you, they'll believe that it's not fake. But it doesn't matter so much to try to get the people who oppose you to believe things. They're going to believe what they want to believe. In the case of Venezuela, I think what's interesting about that really is that nobody was denying that there was an attack. It wasn't like Venezuela was saying nothing was attacked. They were basically trying to subtly categorize the United States into one of these two-bit, third-rate governments that fakes
Mm-hmm.
evidence of their military prowess. What comes to mind is Iran, who famously some, 10, 15 years ago, they shot, two or three rockets as part of a defense or something. I don't know, test, or I don't know what it was. But then they used Photoshop to copy those rockets and put in like 20 rockets that were being shot,
Right.
shot at the same
Right.
time. And the whole point is, look at how scary we are because we're shooting all these rockets. And people could easily see that the cloud, the smoke or the whatever, the blast material out of the
Wait,
rocket
did you
was
just say
identical.
shitting rockets?
No, did I? Boy, no, no, that's North Korea where Kim Jong Un
He
actually
shits
literally shits
rockets.
rockets.
Maybe
Um,
Trump shits rockets. They throw it out the window in a trash bag. Little
it's
mini
likely
nugs.
he's always trying to be like the dictator of
Right.
North Korea. But
But
anyway, so that was interesting.
right. And they did, to your point, like no one's disputing that something happened on a boat in the water. They actually said, yes, we did that. And also, I think the thing with the trash bags was he said it was real at first. And then it was weird. And so he was like, no, it's AI.
Yeah,
So it's using the ambiguity about the tech, as a tool to basically control the narrative at certain moments and deploy it at certain moments and kill and
right.
shape the conversation. So that's a little unfair to the public because, like I said, you can't prove it. Like there's nothing you can do.
Exactly. And the normal way, turns out, because I looked into this deeply, the normal way to lie about whether something is AI or not can be found in a number of countries. The sort of like the gold medal, the gold standard of lying about AI in terms of political cultures are in Mexico, Nigeria, and Brazil,
Hmm.
apparently. It's become a banality for
Hmm.
any politician caught with having an affair or caught, saying something that is really problematic, to say that it's AI, and they've been doing it for a few years now. And it's
Hmm.
just the standard thing about fake news. You get plausible deniability. Your supporters can uh, feel snug about it, and they can believe what you said, no matter what. And in fact, there's been some research about this. Let me see if I can find the research. But basically, what they found was that as a political tactic, somebody's caught dead to rights doing something, right? as a political tactic, they found that claiming that the evidence against you was an AI fake is more effective at getting your followers to believe you than apologizing, than just claiming that it's not true or whatever without using the AI thing. So in other words, according to political consultants, the best practice for getting caught dead to rights on video or in picture is to claim that it's AI. That works. That works the best. That's the best thing to do tactically. It's not the best thing to do ethically, obviously.
Right.
But basically, it was a study that took place between 2020 and 2022. They basically surveyed 15,000 adults, and they found, misinformation based on AI is the claim to make if you're caught dead. I remember years ago, many years ago, there were presidential candidates who they used to just get discarded the second they were caught. I think it was a Colorado Senator Gary Hart, I think his name was, and a picture circulated of him with an intern sitting on his lap or something on a sailboat or something like that. His career was over right there. Just done.
Yep.
And the best detail about that whole thing is the name of the boat they were sitting on is called Monkey Business.
Oh,
if I recall.
Asking for it.
Anyway.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I thought about this topic this week too, because it's claims of AI on the internet is also can be almost a compliment in a way, like, oh, that's so good, it must be AI. So you've heard about this whole K-pop Demon Hunters thing. Are you aware of that?
I've heard about it because my granddaughter always wants to watch it and my son won't let her watch it.
Yeah. So it's the number one.
That's how I hear about it.
That's perfect, actually. That's the number one movie on Netflix of all time. And it's also going crazy on Spotify. It's a kind of like a kids musical kind of thing. And the main song is called Golden, and the singer in it achieves extremely high notes in the singing. And also the song feels very processed. It's like processed meat. Like, I don't know, it's really been through the computer. And so people were saying, oh, is that movie just like AI songs, AI generated songs? And then I saw an interview with the actual singer, and she was like, wow, I mean, you put a lot of effort into singing on the number one movie in the world on Netflix. And then everyone's just like, oh, well, it's AI. And you're like, hi, I'm here. I'm a person.
Yeah.
But she was like,
was she like, oh, thank you. It sounds like AI. Oh, thank you. You stop
That's
it.
what she said. She was like,
okay.
Unfortunate, but also thank you was kind of her, response. And so but it's odd too. It does feel like it takes away a little bit from the human effort that went into it, because maybe she won't get the right credit. Or when you hear the songs, I actually thought it might be AI when I heard it, because it's just so perfect. But I was wondering, is there a person behind this? And apparently there is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole use of auto-tune, which doesn't sound like this is, because auto-tune has a very specific sound that you can tell that it's auto-tune. And I thought it was a really interesting move many years ago when Cher did a song using auto-tune.
Yeah. She's kind of a natural auto-tune. Her voice is
exactly. She's a great singer with perfect pitch. Like auto-tune, you think, oh, okay, it's Milli Vanilli or whatever. It's like some hack singers trying to sound perfect. Yeah,
it's T-Pain.
But she's a really technically good singer and does not need auto-tune at all. She just liked the sound of it or something,
right?
Which is fine, But yeah, who knows? The blurring of these things. I mean, we were talking about singers. Will Smith was accused of having an AI-generated audience. People were zooming in on the audience and noticing all the normal artifacts. People were crying. They were holding up signs, saying specific things, just making, it's all a big ego trip. But that's the genre anyway. So it's not like any of this stuff has ever been real. But what is probably the case is that real footage of his actual audience was interlaced with fake footage of a fake audience. And it was like a bit of both. And this is the This is a reality. This may be
Right.
the case with the K-pop movie. That may be the case with many other things where there's like a little real, it's a little tweaked, it's a little, and that's leads us to the technology of the moment, which at least in my consciousness is Nano Banana, which is the Gemini 2.5 Flash image tool, which is perfect for this sort of thing. It's perfect for blending
Mm-hmm.
reality with fabrication. So, for example, I'll give you a great example. I'll give you a mediocre example. I won't give you a great one. I'll give you a mediocre one.
Well, I don't want a mediocre
Let's
one.
see. Here, okay,
We
I'll
don't,
give you a great
no,
one.
no one listening wants a mediocre example. Let's go. Bring it.
Great. Okay. Perfect. You take a photograph, a high resolution photograph, obviously a photograph of a person petting a puppy,
Mm-hmm.
and you upload it to Nano Banana and say, transform this into a guy slashing a tire. And what you get
Whoa.
back is something that appears to be exactly a photograph, where the hand that's holding the knife or the razor blade or whatever, however, I don't know how you slash a tire, but like holding the object for slashing the tire, it it puts a perfect car in the picture. It puts a perfect tire in the picture, lit in the same way as the photograph. It looks exactly like a photograph. The
Interesting.
person, right? The face, the clothes, the general pose is the photograph. So it's
Mm-hmm.
blending reality with and this everyone will get used to this very quickly. This tool is going to be everywhere. It's part of the Gemini API. It's part of Google AI Studio, Vertex AI. It's going to be integrated in Adobe Firefly and Adobe Express.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be in FreePic, Figment, like a whole bunch of things. And a year from now, the knowledge that you can just do perfect fakes is going to be universal. Everyone will
Yeah.
know you can do this.
Yeah, the state of photography is quickly growing dire. I mean, it's starting with on the iPhone and Android phones being able to erase certain things. Like if you're, I think I saw this from Google this week. I haven't checked that it's true. I saw it on Twitter, so it could be anything, but it follows in the theme of the past couple of years. It's like a kid looking at an animal at the zoo, a very exotic animal, and the kid's close to it because there's a fence, but you can remove the fence now. So you
Yeah.
could put your 6-year-old in front of a tiger with no fence. It's a very different picture. So you can't,
Yeah.
photography is just becoming not reliable. And I was thinking about that when you were talking about politicians and AI and saying what's real and what's not. And I was thinking like the Vietnam War was an example of when people in the public felt really empowered because they sent journalists overseas to on the ground who were capturing, Napalm Girl. They're capturing these crazy photos. Look at the nature of war. What are we doing? And that's why the
Yeah.
public got so incensed, and the sentiment around that war really turned against the government, at least for in large part, not everybody. But the imagery was what accurate, extremely accurate and shocking imagery drove change there. And it's kind of like, do we even have the capability to do that now? Because you can, use this nanner banana, I'm going to call it, or to do whatever you want, or you can just
Yeah.
see a striking image of an atrocity and say it's AI. Like all the Gaza videos and stuff. Sometimes I'm like, is that
Yes.
AI? Like, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. It's
Well,
impossible.
many of the pictures coming out of Gaza are perfectly real and depict
And
exactly
they're
what they appear
awful.
to
Yeah.
show. Some are staged, but they capture what's really happening, but the photograph is staged. And some of them are AI generated. Some of them are where there's an explosion, but then like they use AI to really put a ton of smoke and kinetic
Yeah.
things in there. And you mentioned the war footage. It actually began in the Civil War, because what happened in the Civil War
Hmm.
was that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, our boys are gonna go fight them Yankees. And it was all this big heroic thing until they saw the photographs of the battlefields. Hundreds of thousands of people were killed in this U.S.
Yeah.
Civil War, and it was such a horrible thing. There were literally bodies, mangled bodies, covered in people photographed. It was photographed,
Mm-hmm.
and then these exhibitions of photographs kind of circulated, because that was the internet back
Hmm.
then. You physically went to a place and look at the physical photographs, and it really freaked people out. And the Vietnam War, really, the thing that transformed that war was television. And,
Yep. Yeah,
you
that's
know,
it, media imagery. I was that kind of general theme. Yes.
yeah. And so, you, dear listener and viewer, if you are thinking to yourself, is Nano Banana, where is that? What is that? Like, what do you mean? How do I, deal with that? I want you all to try something. Go to search, Google Gemini Picture Me. Picture Me is one word. And this is a new tool that came out yesterday or the day before yesterday, within the last couple of days. And what it does is you upload your photo, your picture of your face, right? And then you can choose from one of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different things that it will try. One is time traveler. So if you click on time traveler, it'll show you your face, photorealistic face, but with the hair and clothing from the 60s, the 50s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. So different kinds of things. It will, you can do a fashion photo shoot. Excuse me. You can do a 80s mall shoot. So it's all about 1980s. It puts you in a mall in the 1980s. There's Miniature Me, which will make little dolls or bobbleheads or action figures of you with your actual face. You can do a hairstyler, so you can try different hairstyles. Impossible pics, so it's you with Sasquatch or things like that. And then there's pro headshots, so it actually can be useful. So it'll put you in a Steve Jobs sweater. It'll put you in a suit and tie. It'll put, if you're a man, it'll put you in professional looking settings and clothing and stuff like that. And then you can download the whole thing, and it's all completely free. But you'll see by using this, you'll get a really good sense of what Nano Banana is like and what it's capable of and what it isn't capable of. Because what you'll find is that most of the pictures don't look like you. It
Right.
misses the mark. And one or two of them will look exactly like you, or it'll be perfect in some way. So that's really where we're at. When you see perfect Nano Banana outputs or perfect outputs from any sort of AI image tool, they are working hard and trying a million iterations and coming up and showing you only the best ones, because we're not quite there yet.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool tip. It is in the
Yeah,
cases we're talking about with Gaza or a boat in Venezuela, it doesn't need to look perfect, though. That's the thing. It doesn't, no one knows what the boat looks like. There's no, it's a boat. So the
right.
fact checking of your own likeness in general isn't really there when you see stuff online. If you see someone in Gaza that, who knows what anyone looks like unless you actually go.
Right.
So that's, I'm thinking about this is getting me thinking, like, how do you make change if no one believes anything you say or show?
Yeah. And there's also fact and there's also truth. And those are two very different things. And of course, journalists always have to deal with that. So, for example, if you fudge an image, it's possible to make an AI generated image that is, in fact, not something that actually happened, but it can convey a truth about what's happening,
Hmm.
a truth that a camera didn't capture. And so I find myself doing this sort of thing all the time with my own photography and when I'm editing that photography. So sometimes I am in a scene, it feels a certain way. I take a picture, the picture doesn't feel that way. So I can
Yep.
edit it to make it feel the way it felt, as
Got
opposed
it.
to here's what actually the light was that came in through the lens of my camera.
What do you take pictures of? I didn't know about this.
I am
People,
okay.
nature.
Um, I take, you may be surprised to learn, tons of food photos.
Oh,
I am
yes.
basically a food pornographer.
Yes.
And so we do gastronomic experiences. I'm the official photographer for those. So I take pictures
Cool.
of people doing all kinds of beautiful stuff, winery stuff, landscapes, vineyards, mountains, people having a wonderful time. I'm a
Travel.
huge travel, food and travel mostly.
Yeah, it's
But
great.
yeah, I'm a huge photographer. I am obsessed by it and I love it. And it's a needless skill nowadays, as we're explaining, but not really. It isn't at all. But yeah, I'll yeah. It's let me see. I think I have a public. Just started a public thing. think I have 5 pictures there. But oh no, you can go to my Instagram, the real Mike
Yeah.
Elgin, and see what kind of pictures I take. The real Mike Elgin on Instagram. I like beauty. I think there's a ton of beauty and joy in the world. I like
Mm-hmm.
to capture that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very happy stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. I just wanted, before we move off this topic, I just wanted to give people a phrase. The phrase is called the liar's dividend. This was coined in 2019 by two people, Chesney and Citron, who describe what a boon it is to liars that AI is so good at making fake images and videos. It's just the best thing that ever happened to prominent liars, because now you can just say, "Hey, it's AI." So, liar's
Mm-hmm.
dividend. Ask for it by name. And so,
Great.
speaking of liars, there was a meeting that took place in the White House that you wanted to talk about.
Yes. So I had
Tell
the
us about
number
that.
one article on Reddit this weekend, which many people
Congratulate! Wow,
texted me
really?
about.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Okay.
including someone from high school I haven't talked to in a decade or so. People notice, people read Reddit and seem to think this is a big accolade. I know there's such a randomness to Reddit, so I don't know if it's really about me, but
It's huge. That means a ton of people saw that article. Like,
yeah, I think people are really interested in it. It's again a political topic, but basically there was a meeting at the White House, which you might have heard of, where Trump invited AI leaders, which he defined as the CEO of Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, Meta. You know all these guys, these names: Zuckerberg, Chai, Altman, Nadella, Tim Cook. I don't know if Apple's doing much in AI, but it's cool to have an Apple meeting. So he invited Tim Cook, I guess, and then Bill Gates
yeah,
was in there too.
everyone but Elon Musk,
Elon did not get the invite, apparently.
which is hilarious because the whole reason he claimed he started supporting Trump was that he wasn't invited to the White House by Joe Biden, talking about electric cars. Remember that?
Yes, yes, such a good point. I don't know what's going on with them because I also saw some good reporting from Wired that the White House, one of the services instructed everyone to, start using Grok immediately. And that was like a week or two ago. So I'm like, they had that whole falling out. He wasn't at the meeting, but now they're instructing people to use this chatbot. Like, what is going on? Anyway, we'll leave him aside. We can have an episode without Elon Musk. So they're all at this table, a very large table. Like, who even makes tables that big? I don't know. There's 30, 40 people around it. Everyone's kind of tense. It's formal. It's being filmed. And they're chumming up with each other. And Trump's kind of like, yeah, so how much money are you investing in like the US and AI? And he leans to Mark Zuckerberg, who's directly to his left, and he says, like, what about you? And a very flustered Mark Zuckerberg is like, oh gosh, that's the first thing he says. Um, I think about 600 billion, yeah, by 28, yeah. And then Trump's like, that's a lot, and he's like, yeah. And did you see that?
Trump said, "Thank you for that pledge."
Yeah, it was
He
that
said, "Hey,
exactly.
hey, what a I mean, just yeah,
Yeah, so it was
incredible."
kind of like these vows that people were making, pledging,
Yeah,
and then it goes around. Apple has already said the same number, 600 billion, not in AI. Again, Apple is really not doing all that much. It's more like they're moving manufacturing and trying to appease Trump stuff. So they had already said that number. Google said they're going to ramp up to 250 million. Microsoft said 80 million, which they have, again, they've been saying since January. So everyone was just saying their numbers. And then I guess that scene ends, whatever that weird conversation ends. And then Zuckerberg, who again is sitting next to Trump, leans over to him. And he's like, "Oh, like, so this is caught on hot mic." He goes, "I'm sorry, I wasn't ready." He might have said, "I wasn't ready to make an announcement." It's a little garbled, but he definitely says, "I wasn't ready." And the big thing that everyone's talking about is he says, "I didn't know what number you wanted to go with." So
yeah,
he's admitting that he's just saying what Trump wants to hear. This is not tech strategy. This is not grounded in reality. It's totally
yeah,
smoke and mirrors for the public. They're making up AI numbers, and so many things about AI are made up. And he he made up a number and is on camera and he admits it. And so everyone's feeling like this is a big story. They really are lying to us, and this is finally some evidence. I thought the AI numbers were all crazy because they are. I mean, 600 billion. Like, what the heck are we even talking about? Meta's expecting to spend a lot, a little over 100 billion, but you have to get fivefold that to get to 600. I mean, it's a lot. So yeah, that happened this weekend. It was a big topic of conversation this weekend. Not just my article, but a lot of other publications on social media. The clips kind of circulating.
Congratulations on that huge. I'm sure you're the flavor of the month at PC Mag, bringing in probably more than half the traffic is that one article that you wrote. So
It's
that's
not.
very cool.
Thank you. It's not my biggest article. I mean, it did very well, but it's anyway. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
downplaying it.
So they understood the assignment is the way I look at this. Donald Trump he's indifferent to reality. He cares only about perception, and he always cares about the perception that he's doing things. And so the assignment was hand me a trophy that I
Yep.
can brag about as an achievement of mine. Like
Yes.
I made Meta invest $600 billion in America. That's what it
Right.
was. It was the investment in the U.S. And he wants a lie because whatever the truth is, he wants you to triple it
Yep.
and quadruple it, times 10 it, whatever it is. Give me a big number and I can go say that I did this, because he really doesn't give a rat's behind about what's true or any of that kind of stuff. He's just looking for credit for himself, and it's just astonishing
Right.
that.
Especially. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
No, I'm petering out anyway. You go ahead.
I thought you might have been. But it is astonishing. Yeah. And of course, doesn't know about the technology. He just wants big numbers to say, I invested in America. And that's really what he's asking about. And so, what is that money going to go to? Meta, before this, has said their big AI budget is for infrastructure, basically data centers, and then recruiting. You've heard a lot about Meta spending 200 billion or 200 million pay packages for Apple's engineers, OpenAI. So they're spending a lot of money on headcount and
Yeah.
infrastructure. And I think a lot of that's going to go towards data centers. And if you think about that with the abysmal jobs report, if you put those two things in conversation, you might see why we're not making a lot of jobs, because data centers
Yeah.
do not create a lot of jobs.
Right.
I'm writing an article right now. I've talked about it before. In Pennsylvania, they're like taking people's land to make electrical lines to power an Amazon data 30. I mean, dozens of Amazon data centers. And Trump is behind this deal too. He's been in Pennsylvania talking about it. It's a big thing. So that investment is $20 billion, and it's going to create just over 1,000 jobs, 1,250 for 20 billion. Ford's EV plant that they announced this summer is 4 or 5 billion, and it's going to create 4,000 jobs. So almost 3 times the amount of jobs with a fifth of the investment in one facility. So data centers are just empty racks of GPUs. They're storage. They're
Yeah.
gigantic storage. In some cases, many times the footprint of the Mall of America. They're huge, and they do nothing but power computers pretty much. And there are like janitors, some technicians, like that. Those are the jobs here we're talking about. And so, yeah, it doesn't look good. You have all these people investing $600 billion into empty in terms of like no people. And then the
Yeah.
jobs are going down. Like, why do you think they're going down? We're not investing in things that create jobs.
It's great for the data center air conditioning industry, the
It
burgeoning,
is.
because they have to be cooled, and that's the main cost is the energy required to cool these chips that are overheating. And essentially,
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of those chips are doing is essentially running AI that's
Yeah, which requires more
replacing
computing
people at
power.
work. So
Yeah.
they basically they're essentially machines that cause unemployment. Just if you want to look at it that way, but
In the short term,
but you know
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's, the whole thing that Trump really promised. I mean, if you look at these companies that seat around the table, that was, most of the quote unquote Magnificent Seven.
Mm-hmm.
Magnificent Sevens, Apple, Google, and Amazon, a few others
Mm-hmm.
that are giant companies that just grow and grow and grow in terms of their stock price. And I think Nvidia is one of them. And
Oh
they're called the
yeah.
Magnificent Seven because, you know, somebody like Trump who likes to brag about positive economic metrics loves to brag about the stock market, right? The stock
Mm-hmm.
market, if you remove the Magnificent Seven, the stock market has been in the doldrums, declining, just horrible performance. But then when you add the Magnificent Seven, the U.S. stock market is amazing, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's not the problem that needs to be solved. The amount of investment that Meta is making in America, software, they do software basically, and
Right.
smart glasses, but software, right? And most of this stuff is, they have engineers all over the world. Most of them
Mm-hmm.
are in California, but regardless, this is an American company doing bits, sending bits over the internet, and that's the business. And that's not really a problem. What Trump really promised were degrading sweatshop jobs, manufacturing jobs, right? If the modern manufacturing world is basically a miserable experience for the employees, but that's what Trump has been promising. He's been promising coal power, which is a miserable experience for the employees. He's been promising oil and gas production, which is a miserable experience for the employees, although oil and gas workers on oil derricks and stuff like that tend to be
Mm-hmm.
paid pretty well. So that's a good
Coal
thing.
too.
But
I guess that's a real job, and they are reactivating coal plants in
exactly.
Pennsylvania and on the East Coast because there is not enough electricity to power these data centers, which is what my article is
Yeah.
about. As I met with the local utility, I met with people whose land is being seized by eminent domain to create gigantic transmission lines, which are enormous electrical towers the size of the Seattle Space Needle that will now run through their property, ruin their whole beautiful valley. And they're going to connect to these Amazon data centers. And the utility is freaking out because they're trying to make good on the Trump deal, the Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro deal. So they're in cahoots, those guys, on this deal. And they've convinced Amazon to invest in Pennsylvania, blah, blah, blah. But there is not enough electricity. So the public utility that's responsible for hooking up the wires is not responsible for creating power. That's a local nuclear plant. There's a nuclear plant. That's the coal plants. That's other things. So there's actually not enough generation power. And Trump talked about that in this White House dinner. But he said, oh, we're going to make it really easy for you to get electrical permits to hook up your data centers. So there's a lot going on here. It's in general, I think, extremely poorly thought out, as poorly thought out probably as Zuckerberg's numbers.
As you know, I like to spend a lot of time in Latin America. And one thing that's conspicuous when you're walking around in an average Mexican town is you look into these little bodegas and grocery stores, and during the day, they don't have any lights on.
Yeah.
They don't have the single fluorescent light. And I'm not talking about, Mexico is not a poor country. It's about in the middle. On a per capita basis, it's around the same as China.
Hmm.
Uh, it's an average country economically
Hmm.
overall on the whole. Ton of rich people, ton of poor people, but on
Yeah.
average, Mexico is a average country. These little shops, of which there have got to be a million, or no, not a million, hundreds of thousands in the country of Mexico, almost routinely don't run a single light because of the energy cost
Yeah.
of
Wow.
having lighting in the store that the whole neighborhood shops in. And then here you have I saw a hilarious cartoon online somewhere where they show this house. There's a husband and wife, presumably, at the mailbox, and they've opened a letter and they're looking at it, and they're holding their phone, talking to the phone, and next to them you see this gigantic data center, like
Yeah.
it's the size of a city, like right next to their house,
Yeah.
and they're talking to the phone and they're asking the phone, ChatGPT, why is my data bill so high? Why is my electricity bill so high? Anyway, very funny.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. It's electricity bills are going up. That's the thing. I've become a little like passionate about this since doing more
yeah,
reporting. Like I really feel strongly that people are being compromised. Like these people whose land is being taken for data centers for Amazon. They had nothing to do with that deal. This has been these properties have been in their family 6 generations. Are really special. Why ruin it for something that's not even going to work, not going to create jobs? Like what it has tax breaks, not even state revenue. I mean, it's just atrocious, really, if you think about it.
the other dimension is that we are locked in a battle, we're told, with China for the future.
That's
And
why
whoever
they're
wins in AI,
rationalizing it. Yes.
and China, they just they just say, yeah, if you live in this village, you have a month to move. We're taking it because we have to
Oh
do this
yeah.
thing. It's for the glory of China. And so they don't, that's why they can easily and quickly, that's one of the reasons why they can easily and quickly build high speed rail, because
Mm-hmm.
there's no question about eminent domain.
Well,
That's
in
not
a
entirely true.
yeah, but in a
They're
communist, that's a big difference between communism and capitalism. I know they're a little bit of a blend. I don't know how they're doing this now, but there's no private property in
yeah,
communism. So I know someone whose
right.
family's from China and their land was taken by, I mean, this was decades ago. I don't know if they're doing that now, but they have a recent strong history of doing that, at least that I'm aware of. So yeah,
Yeah.
they could probably just snatch it up and build million data centers.
Yeah, it's much easier to do that in
Yeah.
China than it is in the United States. And again, there are situations and circumstances. A lot of this is localized. A lot of the politics is local. A lot of the corruption is local,
Yeah.
and not necessarily something that happens at the national level.
Yeah.
But it's a very complex country. But you know, fretting over every little plot of land that they need for some giant data center is not something that they do
Right.
in China much, as it is something that we do in the US,
Right.
that people have to be compensated, they have to agree to it.
Well, they do, but in this example, they're actually actively working on passing legislation that removes municipal power around data center issues and puts it all at the state level. So communities would no longer have power to say we don't want a data center, which is really scary. I mean, public meeting halls are filling up across Pennsylvania, hundreds of people who are like, I do not want this. In all these little towns, if you look at a map, just meetings all over, and not just Pennsylvania, this is in Virginia. I mean, every state in the US, I'm sure, has had this conversation. And so they're basically taking the power from those people and putting it at the state level to expedite the whole thing. And once you put it at the state level, now you're with Josh Shapiro, who wants to run for president. And he was almost Kamala Harris's VP pick. And then she went with Tim Walz. But Shapiro's lurking in the wings, ready to go, building his resume, saying, look at me, I'm bipartisan. I worked with Donald Trump, who he supports data centers. We met in the farmland of Pennsylvania. Look at this. We're productive. And it's just such smoke and mirrors. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. The thing that comes to mind when you talk about Pennsylvania and energy use is the Amish. And I
Mm-hmm.
wonder what that is. Are they building data centers in the Amish country? Are they not doing that? If they're not
They'd
doing
have a
it, why
right
aren't they?
to. Yeah, they'd have a right to. I mean, it depends if there's it's called an easement is the term. Basically, it's
Mhm.
a strip of land that the utility has right to. If
Yeah.
their property happens to fall along an existing easement, they can expand it. Um, yeah.
Meanwhile, here in the Golden State, speaking of presidential hopefuls, Gavin Newsom is polishing his resume,
Yes,
and
he's a good
or-
Shapiro rival.
yep, exactly, or running mate, who knows? But
Oh.
I don't know if you're going to have two governors, but the California's been absolutely killing it in solar power. It quadrupled capacity in the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
really doing amazing things in the world of solar power. So that sort of thing, the problem with California is the environmental regulations and all that kind of stuff. They had to suspend some of those to rebuild in LA after the big fire and stuff
Yep.
like that. But I heard a recent podcast by The Economist that who's really figured out how to reduce the red tape around building and construction and all that kind of stuff. Iraq.
Okay.
Apparently, apparently Iraq is booming and doing really well relative to the past, not relative
Okay.
to Denmark, but there's tons of construction and new projects and
Hmm.
tourism and all this kind of stuff happening in Iraq because the president is obsessed with figuring out how to remove red tape around things. And so, if, for example, somebody wants to build a house, they can go to the local planning commission or whatever equivalent that they have in Iraq with their plans and be approved fully that day.
Wow.
Stuff like that. So this is so California is the polar opposite of that. If you want to
California
do
has
anything,
problems really with all this regulation. I mean,
yeah,
it does. Yeah.
yeah, I blame the legislature, which is just almost every story you read about this, the California State Assembly is just they just are just they have their heads way up their butts and don't really they're incapable as a body to see the big picture about things. And
Yeah.
this is one of the big I'll give you just a one example. All of these regulations grow the cost of housing because housing is very limited. All the NIMBY people don't want more buildings. There's a the population growth is not matched by the growth in available housing. So housing becomes more scarce, more expensive. And so we have this massive homelessness problem. So either you live in California, either you live in an extremely expensive, albeit environmentally sound, technically safe, earthquake proof, fire retardant, energy efficient home, or you live under an overpass.
Mm.
And there's nothing between those in California. I'm exaggerating a bit, but um, that the legislature can go decade after decade seeing this problem and be like, yeah, what are you going to do? You gotta watch out for the groundwater and stuff like that. Yes, you do have to do that, but
Yeah.
surely there's a better way than a pop. I think the homeless population. I mean, I think the homeless population in Los Angeles alone is over 100,000 people or something crazy like that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really, really bad. And the price of housing is directly one of the big problems with that. So anyway, I don't know. We sort of gotten off topic, but
No, it's
this
all
whole
related
thing,
also to tech because San Francisco, I mean, I
yeah,
used to live in Seattle and there is a correlation between rent prices and homelessness. And as they go up and people get priced out, there's more homelessness. And in these, I mean, I don't know about LA because it doesn't have as much of what's going on in San Francisco and Seattle, where you have an enormous population of really wealthy tech people. And
yeah,
then you have a growing homeless population, which is just very dystopian combination. Austin is a little bit
yeah,
like that. And,
hmm,
you'll have gorgeous new perfect rooftop bars and then two streets over, there's like Narcan, you know, and
yeah,
that's the atmosphere. It's totally wild.
right.
But the tech industry, at least on the West Coast, I think has been pretty responsible for that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of there's a lot of progress being made. I mean, San Francisco is really actually doing really well these days. The city of San Francisco
That's
compared to
good.
LA, and basically on the upswing. So it's getting better and better all
Mm-hmm.
the time. There's a lot of work being done behind the scenes. The problem is that in California, everything is so slow and expensive. That's the
Right.
problem. If progress could be made quicker, that would be so much better. And so anyway,
Yes, of course.
it's a it's an interesting issue. You also have the issue of water, the water required to power data centers and so on. But
Well, that's a
you
big
know,
one. Yeah, I mean, when Meta put a data center in Georgia, all the people's kitchen taps in the community turned to a drip, turned on their kitchen faucet. It was a small drip because they didn't calculate properly the water demands and what was available in the reservoir and who needed what. And just like the power thing I was talking about, is there enough actual power to satisfy everyone plus a data center that consumes more than everyone who's already there? Same with the water. And the answer was just no. And they still built it. I mean, they're building things and committing. money and removing red tape at a rate that I think it's impossible to do a good job. Um,
Yeah.
and I wish they could just, first of all, build them up. They're one story, gigantic, like the worst, like, paved paradise and put up a parking lot. It's like the worst iteration of that possible. I wish they could, I don't know why, maybe someone listening knows, why can't they build more vertical data centers that don't destroy old growth forests, that don't cover streams with endangered species, that don't, just eat up plain old grass? Why don't they just build them up? And then,
Yeah.
connect solar to it. And that would be a much better situation. Like if it was just
Yeah.
clean energy building up, maybe it'd be a little more fun to talk about AI if that was the case.
Right. And also, well, you talk about building up. I always wondered why Silicon Valley, where I am now, doesn't allow. Why isn't this a megapolis of skyscrapers?
Yeah.
How great would that be? It's not like
California's
these.
low. It's low.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
what
it
are you
is. I
protecting? I
don't
mean,
get
I,
it.
I I grew up in Santa Barbara, where I understand it. Santa Barbara's a beautiful place. Everybody wants a view of all the things around them, the mountains, the ocean, all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. What do what's the view if you're in Mountain View? It's like it's the whole area is nothing but track housing and strip malls, and the new housing that they're building is just super cramped, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no space and all that kind of stuff. So okay, so if you're going to do that, there should be 50, 100-story buildings.
Hmm.
And if that were the case, if they had a glut of housing, the price of housing would be low, much lower, right? All these Silicon Valley companies would do much better because if you have you talk about Facebook, they have these, Meta, which is actually in Menlo Park, another Silicon Valley town. Yes, they're paying $100 million salaries and just incredible salaries to a tiny handful of super engineers. Then they're paying really good salaries, three, four, $500,000 a year to like programmers,
Mm-hmm.
in many cases. But who's vacuuming the rugs and taking out the trash, and where do those people live,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I
I
live in
mean,
Menlo Park.
yes, they commute long distances, which is what we see in the New York City area. I mean, very expensive real estate, but a lot of jobs, but you can't afford to live near your job. So you're commuting 2 hours to, clean a
Yeah,
bathroom. I mean, it's terrible. Clean a bathroom
yeah,
for people who are shitting $200 million bricks. And you're
yeah,
just
right,
like, you're like, what are we doing? Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Who's gonna Yeah, I
yeah.
was gonna make a joke about cleaning up the bathrooms after all
Yeah.
the gold shit everywhere. But
I mean,
anyway,
I
the
love poop jokes, and I just do. I just think they're
okay,
great. I,
okay,
I do them in my writings. I've written about poop several times in an
okay,
academic, intellectual
right.
context.
You probably like the emoji.
No, come on.
You don't like the poop emoji?
No, I'm beyond that.
Oh,
I'm
oh,
writing
okay.
about poop in articles. Let's,
I see. Okay,
come on, come
all
on.
right.
Yeah. No, I'm just
I don't
kidding.
mean to fling dew at your hobby here, but
No, the only
yeah.
emojis I
So
use are mostly like smiling emojis, the heart emoji. I don't know. What emojis do
yeah,
you use?
I basically those. I
Yeah.
feel like the thumbs up emoji is like
Yeah.
seems sarcastic, like, oh, not good for you. So I think
It
using
kind
it
of
seems,
not a good feeling.
yeah. Um, I really don't like the laughing, the tears of laughter, or whatever
Right.
the trolls like so much.
Well,
I
that
don't
one's
I don't like it.
out. The younger generation uses the skull and crossbones instead of that.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, it is
I like
better.
that better.
Yeah. But I,
But you were talking about learning about the water shortage thing. That's never going to. I mean, I was talking about California politics. One of the strangest things about California is that it's really water is really scarce,
yeah.
and the one of the most productive agricultural areas in the world is California's Central Valley, which I think the valley alone is responsible for at least 20% of the agricultural production in the entire
Yep.
country.
Yep.
Is massive. And one of the things they grow there is almonds. Almonds require massive amounts of water. And
Right.
so here you have this place where water is scarce, and 80% of the world's almonds are produced in California,
Hmm.
which has no water. It's
Remember
insane.
when you
Why?
said you're
Grow
not in
almonds
favor
wild.
of GMOs? This is why I said
Yeah.
I am in favor, because I have heard examples of them grafting more water efficient root systems onto things like almond plants. So you can grow an almond with with less water. And so I think that's smart. And that's one reason why I'm a fan.
I have a better idea. Grow them somewhere else where they have plenty of water.
The different weather. Okay, I was going to talk about this earlier, and I'm a
Yeah.
fan of hydroponics, which is
Hmm.
another why we should build up. Like we should be building. We have not cracked this, which is growing plants in literally water and inside. So you don't need to pour fertilizer all over the earth. You don't need to do all that. You can still have people working in a basically like a I guess a plant factory. It tastes better, it's fresher, you have more control over it. The food in the country would be better and more biodiverse potentially. So people are working on it, but no one's been able to crack the code. And I think that's like, when I think of like a utopian future, it includes that.
So your vision of the future is that we have vertical data centers,
Yeah.
vertical farms,
Anything that takes a
vertical
huge
living.
amount of space, make it vertical and enjoy the
I
rest.
believe in
Go
I believe
ATVing.
in mixed use environments that are mutually, so surely the energy from a data center could power or heat in a cold climate um, plants for growing. So there's got to be some way to make this super like symbiotic, where the heat produced from the data center is
Yeah.
used for other things. The light produced, the whole surface is all kind of solar panels that powers the data center, etc. Surely
Yeah.
there's a way.
You can. Right now, they're worried in that Pennsylvania community that the water that comes out of the data centers is, it runs over all the equipment and it gets extremely hot. And they're going to put it
Right.
back in the ecosystem. And there's really a lot of trout fishing and tourism there, a beautiful network of streams. A lot of fishing people travel there. And the trout can't survive at even like 5, 10, certainly 15 more degrees. And they're just going to be chucking hot water everywhere. I mean, it's so ridiculous. So
China is actually experimenting with putting data centers in the ocean.
I was going to say on the
Uh,
moon, put them on the moon, get them out of here.
Moon is good. North Pole is nice. South
Yeah,
Pole is good.
that's like the closer moon.
I think Meta actually has data centers that are in or near the Arctic Circle in Europe,
Yeah.
which reduces cooling costs and stuff like that. Presumably, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, anyway, yeah, we're headed for a future. There's the cyberpunk future where everything's dystopian, dark, ugly, horrible. There's the solar punk future where technology exists in harmony with nature, and we all get to be organic farmers
Ooh, I like
with
that.
solar powered windmills and stuff like that. Who knows? But I'm sure it'll be a lot of both. But yeah, so
Right.
I'm glad to hear that you're a solar punk.
I am. Yeah, I feel good about that. I do.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll
We
look
should
it
talk
up.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Look it up.
I will.
Yeah.
Before I claim
Um,
this title I've never heard before.
it's something. So there's a solar punk subreddit. The problem with the solar punk movement is it's being co-opted by all kinds of other ideologies. So it's
Hmm.
like, if you embrace solar punk now, you have to also embrace decolonialization and blah, blah, blah. And so it's like,
Oh.
and so I actually wrote a thing yesterday that just criticizing that in the solar punk subreddit, that whole movement, because like, why, right? If if you're going to be part of the pro gay marriage thing, you don't have to also embrace the concept of I don't know, anarchy or something like that, or anti-capitalism or something like that. No, you want movements should stay focused, and if you want to believe in many causes, well, that's why we have Venn diagrams. But don't just lump everything in. But anyway,
I'll check it
it's
out.
a subtle and growing movement. Yeah, solar punk.
Cool.
There's also a related one called Hope Punk, which is less technology oriented. The solar punk movement is
Hmm.
very much about DIY tech, right?
Okay. I
Which
don't
is
know if
cool.
I'm in on that.
Yeah.
I still believe,
Well,
I like DIY stuff, but in general, I think best if everyone does what they're best at is still a good
exactly. I
system.
love DIY as long as somebody else is doing it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So Hope Punk sounds kind of like,
Yeah.
like Hufflepuff to me. Like that's that's the Hufflepuff house. Like, what? I don't know. You guys are in the clouds.
Yeah. The Hufflepuff movement is probably a
Yeah,
better title than Hope Punk. Hope Punk is hard to say.
yeah.
But anyway, so well, I think we've exhausted this general topic, but I do think in the future we should talk about solar punk. We should talk about the
Mm-hmm.
future of communities. I know there. I want to talk about arcologies and things like that. Planned communities. There's one in Japan
Mm-hmm.
that they've been working on. There's one in Saudi Arabia. They're working on that long
Yes, the
city. It's like
line, the line.
yeah, the line. Yeah,
Yes.
that's unmitigated, expensive, overpriced disaster so far. But they're doing something. People are living there, like
Oh wow.
influencers living there, and there are a few others. There's one tried by the Silicon Valley people in California. I think that has already failed, if I'm not mistaken. There was Andreessen and all the usual suspects were backing that. So I think we really should talk about that.
Yeah.
How do we how do we how do we construct a livable future, and what are the ideas for that, and what are the projects behind that? We should talk about that on this
Why
podcast.
don't we just talk about that next week and
Okay.
find something to link it to? Like, just not drop the thread. We could at least part of
Right.
our discussion. We could advance it a
Yeah.
little bit. Like, is there anything new? Like, I'm kind of dusting off old ideas. Like, these are ideas I've had for a long time. So it's like, what does that look like? Now.
Old ideas that haven't yet been implemented successfully at scale are still kind of like new ideas, because if you haven't done them yet, then you
Right.
haven't, you don't really know what's going to happen. But I also believe, I believe that whatever we do, we have to do it stepwise and be inclusive about it. We can't be like, oh, let's create this, this sort of like utopia that 2% of the world wants to live in and 98% has no interest in or
Right.
can't really imagine living in. So, yeah, let's talk about that, because I think that's really interesting. Certainly a tech angle, certainly an AI angle to much of that, because AI is going to be a major part of whatever future we craft for ourselves.
Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the Super Intelligent Podcast with me, Mike Elgin, and Emily Forlini, and we would love for you to go right now and give us 5 stars. That way, we'll become more popular and people will like us more. More
Shameless.
importantly, yes, more importantly, when you're better rated, more people are exposed to your podcast. They'll discover the goodness and light that we bring to the world, and they themselves will subscribe. We are committed to never making a penny on this damn thing. We don't have advertising. We don't have sponsorships. We don't have product placements. We don't have any of that stuff. There's no monetization. You can't pay us. You can't give us money as much as we'd like you to. But that's our commitment, and the reason is we want a pure podcast that's unsullied by the muck of commerce and capitalism. Actually, I like capitalism, and I don't mean to imply that I'm against capitalism, but this is what we've chosen to do. We just have a conversation. Two people who cover technology are just talking about the world and how we view things. And if you like it, give us 5 stars, please, and share with your friends. Tell your mom. Get everybody to listen to this podcast, because this is, I think, a fantastic podcast. And
I
and
agree.
if you agree, give us 5 stars. Anyway, not to belabor the point, thank you very much for listening. Tune in next time when I will be in Italy, and we'll be talking about utopian communities of the future and where the world should go and what the experiments are that everybody's trying. So thanks again, and we will talk to you, or we will talk at you next week.